Hello again, everybody. My name is Peter Anderson. I'm the Assistant Dean over in the College of Theology here at GCU. Want to take a few minutes to have another conversation with a colleague from Spiritual Life. Kelsey Doan sitting down with me today, Spiritual Formation Manager here on campus. Very thankful for the work you do,
Thanks.
for the ministry you have with students. And just want to have a brief conversation to get your insights on what we believe is an important topic in the lives of students that are here on our campus. And that's essentially balancing the academic and devotional life in college. So maybe the best way to start it is kind of at the lowest level. When I say academic and devotional life, what do I mean? So help me understand, if I'm a student, what is the academic and devotional sides of life while a student is at college?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
It is a real challenge for students. They're here to be students, to graduate, to get a degree, and that is what they're paying here to be for. It's what we are, encouraging them to do. It's an important part of life for them, and an exciting part of life.
Yeah.
And yet also for our students who are followers of Jesus, that they are not here solely to get a degree. They're here to continue following the way of Jesus as they are an undergraduate student. And those are two really big, time-consuming things and things that they are having to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tension, I think, is what you're speaking of. I am a full-time student, that is my full-time job, and yet I'm also a follower of Jesus. And so how do these mix? And for our students who are in the College of Theology as majors or minors, what does that look like when my school also taps into that? And even in other settings, a biology major who's gonna, have some verses at the beginning of class to help them settle in, like how do they balance that tension? And maybe it's not tension, but I think there is some of that, where does my time go and where do my priorities go?
Yeah, balance maybe. I struggle, is it a balance or is it an integration?
Yeah.
I just maybe, in framing the question, want to call attention to maybe two specific spheres of life, because even that gets messy, as you indicated. There's an interweaving of two really kind of distinct approaches to life, but two essential approaches to this phase of life for students to try to figure out how the two fit together. So in the interest of kind of teasing out maybe how we integrate or balance them, what are some common distractions or maybe temptations, to use a spiritual term, to have imbalance or disintegrate these two parts of life while a student is here at GCU? What are some of those temptations or distractions?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when I was first kind of thinking about this, the initial thing that came to mind that I hear from students is trying to silo those two things of saying, okay, well, I'm at class, I have class at 9, 11, and 1. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to spend some time with the Lord. And that they're fully separate experiences for them. Or I am involved in my church on Sunday, or I am this, and yet I'm here at GCU. And siloing those things, I noticed that being a tension point for students of like, well, I'm here at class. I'm like, God's here with you too. Like, how might God meet you in class when your person sitting next to you is, bugging you? And how can you be the love of Christ in that moment? Or when you're frustrated and feel like you didn't do great on an assignment, what is the posture of Christ-like love in that moment toward yourself too? So I think the siloing, and then I asked some of my students this question too, of like,
thank you.
hey,
That's great.
and I just was like, what would you say? Like, I am not in your shoes. I mean, we joked before this about, just our separation
We're
maybe
slightly
from,
out of touch. Clearly.
And immediately they said our phones.
Really?
Immediately.
Okay.
And they all were like, we know it's cheesy, we know it's silly, but it's our phones.
Yeah, I mean, if it's true.
Yeah, and then another one that I thought was so profound is one of my students said that the temptation, that there are so many great opportunities here through professors, spiritual life, churches, and social media, that she can get an answer immediately from anyone she wants, and she neglects often to go to God. And so she can pull up
wow, that's insightful.
TikTok influencer, she can go to a faculty, she can go to a pastor, quick text, immediately get an answer, and then she bypasses that intimate encounter with her and the Lord. And I thought that was so profound.
That's really insightful. Like, speed of access
100%.
almost prevents you from cultivating the discipline of living on God's time.
Yes.
And really accessing Him.
And that one-on-one relationship.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So then they're kind of skirting
really
the peripheral of God. And then when life gets really tough, or when God doesn't do what we think He should, that then it's really this tension point of, well, who do you think God is and who is God to you?
Wow, that's really insightful. Thank you. And thanks for sharing that with your students.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best ways we can get to the answer to this question, right, is as assessing it with students.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like maybe not negative in a sense, but like, okay, here's the thing students are struggling against. So let's talk about the positive side. So So if someone's aware of, how phones distract them, or maybe the speed of access is not allowing them to really cultivating a discipline of going to God and having a deep relationship with Him, what are some practical steps, positive steps, could students take right now?
Yep.
Just a few that they could maybe recultivate some better patterns to integrate or balance these two areas of life.
Absolutely. That's such a good question. One for me that's very simple and has worked for me, and I've kind of shared it with my team and they've done it as well, is if you have an iPhone, the focus settings. And so I will do different focus settings. Like I have a Sabbath setting. And so I don't get any notifications from work on the day that I observe Sabbath, or until 7:30 each work day, I don't get any notifications from students or work. Now I could go find it if I so choose, but at least it's helping my propensity to quickly view my phone. And it's just a little bit of a support. And so it's just like bossing your technology around, right? It's parenting your technology, as I think some people kind of describe it. So that's a really helpful one. On a broader scale, be intentional about our spiritual formation and knowing that we'll never accidentally become more like Jesus. And so a rule of life has been really helpful for my team. And that's something we work on in student leader training. And then we kind of teach through our programming here is, hey, you need an intentional plan, just like you have a course walk to get to graduate and be a nurse and be a engineer and be a missionary, all these things, you have a plan for that. What's your plan for your spiritual formation? And so kind of them feeling freedom of you don't have to do it all. And what spiritual practices are you going to commit to this semester? And then we release the other ones. And that's okay. Maybe you're going to really double down on, memorizing a verse and, being involved in your local church and loving your roommates super well. Beautiful. And so I think creating those direct paths and that plan seems to help with the balance and the tension and the temptations.
That's really good. So start small. Use the tool that's a distraction to actually
100%.
Work to your good, the phone.
Yep.
And then allow the two spheres of life maybe to inform each other. So it's really interesting you described the academic journey, providing at least guide rails for it's hard for us to think of a spiritual journey on the same terms, but that's really helpful when we do let those two parts of life integrate. They can inform one another in really, really healthy ways. So, no, that's really great, Kelsey. Thanks so much for sitting down with me. It's been a wonderful conversation. As always, there's so much more to say here. Maybe we'll have more conversations in the future to unpack maybe rule of life, because that's a fun concept to unpack. But thanks so much for your time. Thanks for sharing your expertise, and thanks for your work with spiritual formation on our campus. It's really important to all our students. So thanks for your time, everybody. Thanks for watching the video. Once again, if this conversation sparks something in you where you'd like to meet with someone to talk a little bit more or explore maybe how you can balance the academic and the devotional life in college, we're actually having specific conversations during our ministry week on campus from October 7th through October 11th. There's going to be a link that you can click on at the end of this video to sign up to talk to a human being on your schedule during that week, so that you could maybe start to unpack and reimagine the ways that you're balancing those areas of life with someone here on campus. Hope you take advantage of that. Thanks for watching the video, and thanks again, Kelsey, for being here.
You bet.